Let's start by, this year the Wall Street Journal proclaimed you as one of the famous and successful engineer in the history of hip hop. That's pretty huge, you know. So for the person who is hearing Yangu for the first time, we'll have to know more about you. Who is this guy?
I mean, they gave me that title. I didn't proclaim that myself. But I'm just a regular guy, man. I'm an engineer first, DJ, engineer, teacher. That's probably the main three things that I do, and DJ, right? So like, I've been engineering. It seems like my whole life, but I used to engineer for my friends, and then I took it real serious and got into engineering as a profession. But that's what's taking me on this journey is DJing and engineering. Yeah.
So which started first, DJing or engineering?
DJing first. I've been DJing ever since I was a kid, and that's what brought me into hip hop. Just period is just DJing, and always having a place behind the turntables. So even in me practicing all the arts of hip hop, in terms of graffiti, I was like a filling guy. Like one of my good friends growing up was a real great graffiti artist. So when I say filling guy, like he would outline the thing and then scribble some like a red right there and be like, fill this in red, and then he'd come back and outline it again in black or whatever. So that's what I was. I was like a filling guy. If you ever watched the movie Beat Street, the relationship between Ramo and the DJ, that was sort of like our relationship. We were like best of friends. One was a DJ, one was a graffiti artist. But definitely DJing came first. That's the foundation and the basis of everything that I do. And engineering came from me trying to go in the studio and make records and the engineer not really caring about it. So I wanted to learn how to do it so I could do it properly. Yeah.
So did you also went to school?
Yeah, I went to a school called Omega Recording Studios. It's in Rockville, Maryland, in the United States. It was a great place for me because it was small enough that I got a lot of personal attention. And I used to just kick it with my instructors and stay after class and like read a lot of books and just figure out the art of engineering. Yeah.
So how did you meet Jay-Z and becoming his?
It was through Memphis Bleek. Memphis Bleek was who brought me into Rockefeller. Basically, I did a session with him, and then inevitably, Jay running the show basically came over to check on Bleek, and I recorded Jay that day, and then we just started rocking from then on out. I do a lot of stuff with him. It just depends on whenever he feels like calling me, like whenever he feels like it. It just depends on what project we're doing. Or the last thing we did was the title shows.
Title?
Yeah,
oh.
Yeah, the title shows, the B-sides.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was DJing on those shows. But it just depends. Like, I do a lot of stuff, on my own independently. He's not the only person that I work with. Like, I work with a lot of people in the industry. It's just he's the most famous and probably the most successful, But that's how it happened.
Are you also signed to his record?
No, I'm not an artist. I've never been signed. Yeah, I've never been signed to anything. Yeah, I'm just the engineer, Okay. So people make that association because of all the work that we put out through Rockefeller and all the years that we worked together. But I've never been signed. No. Yeah.
Okay. In October 2006, Jay-Z and Beyonce came in Tanzania. Mm-hmm. He performed in Diamond Jubilee, one of the biggest venues in Dar es Salaam. And, we know him pretty well because of his music, and we also follow his life and life of his wife, Beyonce, and something like that. So, and we know that Jay-Z is very talented. How talented this man is?
I mean, he's super talented. He's one of the most talented rap artists we've ever had. He's really good. I don't know any other way to put it. He's a really good artist.
Okay. Yeah. I'm more interested to know how he comes up with his records because I've read somewhere that he never writes his lyrics, just memorizing his lyrics and then goes to the booth.
Yeah, he writes them. He writes them in his head. It's the same thing as somebody writing on a piece of paper, but he memorizes it instead of writing it down. So that's really what it is. People are amazed at that, but it's like, when people write stuff down, they think about it, they write it down, they read it a bunch of times. So it's the same thing, but it's all mental.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you received a Grammy Award nomination in 2011 for your work on the Empire State of Mind of Jay-Z and Alicia Keys. Yeah. So you produced this track?
No. I definitely didn't produce the track. I engineered it. I recorded it. Okay. Yeah, and a friend of mine, Doro, mixed it. We were at the end of the album, so I was mixing a bunch of stuff, and I handed that mix over to Doro. He did a great job, but I recorded the record. Yeah.
Okay, you know, we don't have so much sound engineers in Tanzania, so it's something like new to many people.
Yeah,
And
that's the whole
some
purpose of-
people don't know much about sound engineering. So, what is the process of the sound engineer?
The sound engineer is the person that knows how to work everything in the studio. You know, historically and traditionally, to go before computer recording, you had to go in the studio. There was a big board. You had to know how to work that board. You had to know how to work all the equipment, tape machines, and also how to deliver the records to the record company. You know, like what formats they needed to be in, and you do all the passes. You do like a main, a clean, an instrumental, TV tracks, and like all that type of stuff. Now, most people record into the computer. So it's still the same science and still the same methods, but it's all digital. It's inside of a computer. So you don't necessarily have to know how to work a board, but the information on how you work the board helps you because everything that's in the computer is based off the way that used to work, you know? So it's a whole science of knowing equipment, knowing frequencies, and understanding artists and how to get the best out of artists.
So how was this transition from analog to digital in sound engineering for you?
It was amazing. It was a great time. It still is a great time. It's like it breaks down the wall of how expensive it is to record a record. You know, that was the main thing. So the whole thing with digital and the internet is it took away, it gave access to everybody. Instead of you having to sign to a record label, get a budget, go in the studio, you know, hire all these people, it gave access to everyone around the world to be able to record themselves at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how is sound engineering important to music industry?
It's incredibly important. It's what makes the sound. The quality of the record is determined by the sound engineer. You know, his knowledge or lack thereof will determine what your record sounds like. So it's super important. Like, imagine a car where somebody just builds the car, right? The guy at the end of the line, the one that's putting the paint on it and shining it up and determining like what color it's going to be, that's what the engineer does, you know? So the producer comes up with the car, right? He comes up with the basic foundation of what it's going to be. But then the engineer is the one who like sort of picks what paints are going to go on there. But you also have a conversation with the producer, you know? Like what color do you want it to be? How would you like it to look? But he's actually the person that's putting the color on the car, if you get my analogy, if you understand what I'm saying. So that's what the engineer is. He's the person like shining the record so that it looks nice when you put it on the showroom floor to sell the car and it looks really nice. Okay. He's the person that made it look nice like that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, now you were the tour DJ for Kanye and Jay-Z's Watch the Throne.
No, I wasn't on Watch the Throne. I was doing after party for Watch the Throne. But
okay.
I DJ for Jay starting 2010 was when I came on board. Right, so Kanye's been on plenty of shows and whatever, but I didn't do Watch the Throne. Kanye's DJ, Mano did Watch the Throne. But I was just doing like after parties and stuff. But you know, since 2010, I've been DJing for Jay.
Okay. So can you please give us a list of several artists in America that you mixed?
Mixed the album? I pretty much work with everybody that you can name in hip hop and R&B. You know, like I pretty much worked with anybody you could think of, from really big artists to really small artists, R&B artists, from, you know, people like Jay-Z and everybody at Rockefeller to, you know, like I've worked with Mary J. Blige through one of my mentors, Chucky Thompson. Anybody that you could really think of. Like I've recorded Kanye, you know, on a couple joints, but Kanye has engineers and a whole team that he works with. So they end up mixing, you know, Kanye's records. Like Kanye is a whole conglomerate unto himself. But pretty much anybody you could think of in hip hop.
Rihanna?
I'm sorry? Rihanna. I've never worked on Rihanna's albums. It's when Rihanna's featured on something that we're doing.
Okay.
So like Run This Town or something like that. You know, is where I get to work with Rihanna's voice or do work with her. But I've never done her album specifically. But she's down with our team. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely support her and everything that she's doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you got any chance to listen to hip hop music in Tanzania?
Not yet.
Africa?
Well, Africa, yeah, but not necessarily in Tanzania. I just got here, so I definitely want to do that before I leave. Maybe you could hit me to some good artists. Yeah,
they're pretty good artists too. Yeah. And what does it take for an African hip hop artist to make it to the US?
Just putting out the work.
They all dream to go there.
Yeah, just putting out the work. You may have to make the trip, you know, because the internet is so flooded with people trying to put songs out. So just putting your song out is not enough. It's like you got to promote the song as well. because there's so many people, so much noise, right? Because there's so many people on the internet trying to do whatever they want to do. So it's like there's different conferences that you can come to introduce your music to the people. There's, you know, you could literally come to New York, Atlanta, LA, you know, Tennessee is people don't know about Tennessee, but Tennessee is a real big music town as well. Any place where there's people, you know, that move inside of the music business, and you try to get your music out to as many people as possible. So that's like going to shows, going to radio stations, finding out who runs the radio station or what jockeys are on there, DJs are on there, radio personalities, just to introduce them to your music. And also the websites are really important. So finding out who runs all the major, like we have major websites. There's a lot of websites, but then there's also major ones that a lot of people go to, like Rap Radar and All Hip Hop and Now Right, and you know, the list goes on and on. Like there's a bunch of major ones that cover the whole range. So you got to find out who runs those and get your music to them. Okay. Yeah.
And then how is the state of hip hop in the USA? Because we have a lot of new artists these days, and you know, there's a bunch of other artists who were shining in the other previous years, like DMX, you know, this Memphis Bleak, Method Man, Redman. They're not, you know, doing well right now. What's the problem?
Well, it's not a problem. It's just that time goes on. You know what I'm saying? They still, Method Man and Redman still perform, you know, on a regular basis, and have really great careers. Memphis Bleak has 4 gold albums and 1 platinum album. Like, people don't have that in their whole career. Yeah. You know, but time goes on. Like, that's like saying, why don't the artists from the 70s still have records out? It's like time moves on, and there's always going to be new young kids, and hip hop moves. So it always wants something fresh and something new. So it's like, if you're an older artist, you just figure out how to get into your groove, right, and make your records. And then there's always going to be newer artists coming in because people want to hear new stuff. Okay. Yeah.
So you're here in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. You also went to Nairobi, Kenya.
Yeah.
And performed there.
Yeah, it was great last night.
Okay.
I was there last night.
Yeah.
Show was incredible. I had a really good time. The people were really responsive. Played, you know, a lot of my history of stuff that I've worked on, but also like played current music. Like, I like to mix it up. I like to play a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, you know, little funk, little reggae, like just mix it up. Just whatever's good music.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long are we going to be here in Dar es Salaam?
For 2 days.
For 2 days.
Yeah, today I had a day off, and then tomorrow I go perform. Yeah.
Okay. Where?
Tomorrow I perform.
Which club?
I'm not sure the name of the club.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get
No
the name
problem,
for the
no problem. So from Dar es Salaam, heading back to USA?
Yeah, I'm heading back to the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything you want to add? Anything you want to say to?
I just appreciate your time, and I appreciate being in Africa, and I hope that there's a strong connection that's made between African artists and the U.S. artists, because the U.S. needs to really feel and touch the motherland, and then the motherland needs to understand like who we are in the United States, and our total connection. You know what it is? It's your boy Young Guru, a.k.a. The Beast, a.k.a. Hank McCoy. You are watching Bongo 5. Make sure you stay tuned.